Okay, in this session we will see what are the various methods that we can declare inside a class. I think we have already seen the init method, right?
Yes.
Init method is a one type of method that we can declare inside a class. Okay. What are the different types of methods? You know anywhere previously we have read?
No.
There are three types of methods we can declare inside a class. Instance methods. What is an instance of a class?
It's a when you declare a variable with its class name, that will create an instance.
Instance means correct. It is an creation of object of that particular class. Okay. So instance methods means it is particular to that object only. The methods which are used for that particular object, not for the entire class. So what type of variables can we use inside this instance method?
Instance variables?
Yes. Inside instance methods we can use instance variables. We can declare instance variables. Okay. And then we can call the class variables also.
Okay.
We will see later. When we go through the examples, we can get more clarity. Okay. Class methods means if we are using only for that particular class without without the creation object, without creation or instantiating. Suppose, can we declare any instance variables before object creation?
Instance variable before object creation.
No, right? Without object,
no.
They are but related to the particular instance of a class. So without object creation, we cannot declare also, not access, not even access. We cannot declare instance variables, right? But
right.
There will be some variables which we want at the class level, not at the instance level. Okay, not at the object level. Those variables we will put outside all the methods, and within a class we can access those variables even without object creation. Those type of variables will put inside the class or inside the class methods. So we don't require any object creation to access those variables. Understood?
Okay.
So without those variables which we don't require the creation of a object, those type of variables are the class level variables, and the methods which are used to declare those type of variables are called class methods. Okay, you will get more clarity later on. Okay, don't worry. Static means the name itself says it does not relate to any class. Okay, static methods means we don't declare any instance variables nor class variables using the static method. Its purpose is only to provide utility services like a service partner to that class. Like if you want some datetime modules, okay, to be included, we will include all the utility methods inside the static method. Okay, we don't find any instant variables are class variable inside static method. Understood?
Okay.
These are the utility level. Suppose I want to provide some date time to the class. Okay, at that time I will use the static methods. Why it is called static?
It is because it is not related to and it is
Okay, it is actually called static because it does not require object creation to access.
creation.
Uh,
Okay, runtime. It's not run on runtime.
Correct. So these are the type of methods we can use. Okay, inside a class. Now we'll see one by one. Okay, this method. Does init method fall under the category of instance?
Yes.
Because we are declaring instance variables inside init method automatically when we create an object.
Yes.
Correct? So
Yes.
all the general methods, whatever are there inside class, are instance methods only. So init method is also type of instance method. I forgot actually about local variables. Okay, anyway, local variables we have seen, that I will tell you later.
Okay.
Local variables already we have seen while discussing functions, right?
Right.
So at the end of this class, I will tell you about local variables. Why it is called instant method? If inside this method implementation, we are declaring instance variables. We call such methods as instance methods. Right? Understood this point? If that method has instance variable declaration and accessing, then we call such methods as instance method. Understood? Hello?
Okay. Definition. You should have.
If
You
we
should
are
have that.
to declare those as instance variables inside that method, that method is called a instant method.
Okay.
What does it mean? We already discussed this one while discussing init method.
Yeah, the variable.
When we are calling the init method, what happens is the Python automatically includes this object reference as a first parameter to call that init method, right?
Right.
So we must compulsory declare the first parameter as a self only. Any name we can use instead of self, but normal all the people will use self variable. So we are also using the same word, okay, self. So if we are not using the self, error will come at the runtime. Okay. Even though it is not visible to us, while calling the init method, we are only passing the whatever the arguments we are requiring, not the self. Self will be automatically passed. Last time we were seeing already. I will show you once again while the example. So self parameter should be the first parameter.
Yes.
we should declare other instance variables inside the method. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, yes, I understood that
Okay.
last week we
Okay.
discussed about.
Normally, when we have created a function, how to we will normal call that function, right? To use that, correct?
Yes.
Now this is also like a function only. We call the as a method because it is inside a class. So inside a class we call a function as a method, right? So how to call a method? From outside the class or within the class we can call.
Using the class object.
Hmm, outside the class with using the object variable.
Class.
Outside the class we can call a method object reference, correct?
Yes.
But inside a class,
I think you maybe self.
correct. We can use a self because self will be automatically filled with the object reference.
Right.
So we'll call it with the self keyword. Now let us discuss one example.
Okay.
I'm declaring one student class. Understood how to
Okay.
declare a class?
Yes, with the class keyword.
Class keyword, then student first letter should be capital letter. Then it should be
Class name with the.
capital letter. S is the starting letter should be the capital. Okay.
Yes.
And
And colon.
colon. Okay. What is the first method that will pass?
Init method.
Init method. So if you don't provide init method, runtime we will have a init method by default. It will be placed
Right.
virtual machine. Okay. So normally we will call our own init method to declare the first parameter should be self. And what other parameter should be whatever we want the as a instant variables we can pass. Okay. So here I am passing name and marks of the student. Then it should be ended with a colon, right? Then I have to declare and
Assign the
then
values.
values. Self dot name equal to this name. Whatever the name we are providing here, that will be equal to this. Okay. Inside a constructor, we can pass on these values. I'm defining one more instance method. This method also, the first argument should be self.
Inside.
Okay, if we don't pass on any other parameters, we should at least show self.
Okay.
This is a instance method. If we are passing self, that means this is an instance method. Okay, this is also an instance method, which will be helpful to what, to declare and to assign values to the instance variables. So this also to be ended with the column. There are no other students, no? Today I was told that some other person will join in between.
Oh,
Okay, anyway, no other joiners. Maybe they will join some other batch. Okay. So here you see, here I have declared and assigned the instance variables, right?
right.
Well, an assignment also has been completed here. Here I am accessing the instance variable. This is inside a class or outside a class? This
Inside
is
a class.
So while accessing the variables from inside a class, we have to use self keyword only, self.name, not the object reference.name. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Because self here automatically takes whatever the object reference. This is the general purpose, no? So whatever object reference we can pass. This is not for only one instance. This is for any instance can access this one. So general parameter name is self. We will pass whatever the object reference inside this display function method, and we can use it with reference to self.name by using the self.name. Okay, so we have not used the object reference here, self.name only we have used it. Here also self.pongs. We are now declaring the grade method. This is also an instant method. We are passing self. So we have declared three methods, instance method inside a class. Okay, all
Yes.
are having self as a first parameter. Okay, now we have to create an object of the student class. How to create an object?
Name.
Class name followed by the whatever the parameters we want to pass. Here name and marks, right? We have already declared
Yes.
init method. We are passing name and marks. Second object. Then third object. So I have used the init method to pass on this instance variables values. Okay, using the object reference. Okay. I've already told last week, right? How it is converted inside this object creation.
S1 will be passed as a self here, and then self dot name equal to student one, self dot marks equal to marks 80.
Okay. So these two arguments will be passed on these two. Then it will be self.
Name and mark.
Yes,
Self will be S1.
self will be s1. Then here s1 dot name, like that it will got updated, right?
Yes.
Okay. What this statement will do?
Whatever inside the display function. So
We are
for S1 dot display,
no, this what
it,
it will do is we are calling the display method
yes,
of a particular instance. What is the instance?
right.
S1 instance. Second one is S2 instance. Third one is S3 instance. Okay. Now we will save this one and we'll run. What will happen? So here I have created three objects. I am calling the object reference. Using the object reference, I am calling the display function of that instances. Okay. So this is outside the class, right? So I have to use compulsory reference variable object reference. Okay. Otherwise, inside means I would have used inside. Suppose from a grade, I have to call display function. If I use like that, and then we have to go for a self keyword only, not the object reference. Okay.
Understood.
What happened? Any?
And it does not match.
Any?
Yeah.
Any mistake is there? This print. Okay, okay. That is okay. Mhm.
Is there an indentation before S1?
You have to see this gap, maybe that is the problem. That is the problem. Then it will be matching to the outside class. Otherwise, it is thinking that inside class, and inside a class we cannot access with S1, right?
Right.
That's why now we are outside the class. So now we got the output. Okay. Here we have to see not the output but the instance method. How we have declared inside a class. How instance variables are being identified. So how we can identify instance variables? This is an instant variable by seeing the class. If we have self keyword, or if we have any self instance variables also.
Variables.
Okay, if we have instance variables and then self keyword, we can say this is an instance method. Correct? Understood now?
Yes.
Instance method. So if we are declaring the instance variables, then we call that methods as instance methods. Okay. So inside method declaration, we are using self variable as the first parameter, right? Correct? By using
Yes.
self variable, we can access the instance variables inside the class. Outside a class, we can call using the object reference. This topic also we covered. Okay. Now we'll move on to next method is class method, right?
Yes.
What is a class method? Already seen that. We have class variables declared inside a,
Yes.
or if
Class.
we are accessing the class variables, that is a class method, right?
Yes.
Inside method.
But we can access class variables inside instance variable inside methods.
We can access here also, but what we have to do, we have to give the class name. But when it will run only after creating the object instance, right?
Right.
But class level variables we can access even before creation of.
Got it.
Correct, no? So that is if we try to, last time already we have discussed it. Suppose there is one class level variable here,
Yeah, we can.
then if we are trying to assign a like self dot,
We can't do that. That is not.
we can do it equal to, suppose we are forcefully done this one. Okay, what happened?
Okay.
There is separate instance will be created.
Yeah.
We have seen
Yeah.
this also.
Yes.
It will, the class variable still remains as 0 only for other instance
Yes.
to access, or from outside the class to access. But for this particular instance, whatever we are declaring, that instance is modified. Then it will be converted to instance variables for that, as an instance variable for that object, right? We have seen that one.
Got it. Yes.
And also we can access the instance class variables using the student. This are already we have seen, right? If you remember, student or number of objects. Actually,
Yes.
we cannot say dot hyphen. Normally, it will use, we should not fill the gaps also. Number of objects. Okay, student dot number of objects. Like this, if you declare assign, it will be not converted to instance variable. It will be class variable only, correct? Because we have used class name here, not the self instance variable like this in this case. So no instance is created inside any object of this. Okay, it will be at the class level only. If,
Understood. Yes.
otherwise I will open and show you. See, we can access the class variables by using self keyword or a class name. We have just now seen, correct? Self dot number of objects or the test, or that means class name dot number of object, right? Now if we are trying to change the class variable by using the self keyword inside instance method, or by using the object reference variable outside the class, the value of class variable won't be changed. Just a new instance variable with that same name will be added to that particular object.
Understood.
Understood now? So we
Yes.
not be normally modifying the class variable using the self keyword unless we want that instance in our object. Okay, that variable we want inside our object specifically, then we will have to change that class variable. Otherwise we'll change the class variable at the class using the class name only. So what, here are we inside? Okay, class methods. Inside method implementation, for using only class level variables. Why these class methods are used?
To declare class variables.
This is one of the option. Otherwise we can declare directly outside of any method inside a class, correct?
Yes.
We declare directly outside of a class, but we can do inside the class method also, right? How to
Yes.
specify to Python that this is a class method? By using a decorator
Class. Oh, decorator.
called at class method. We will explicitly declare a method as class method. Understood? We'll use at class method decorator before declaring that method, before writing the method inside a class. Then it will be automatically be seen as a class level method only. Okay.
Okay.
For instance method, what is the parameter? First parameter we have passed? Self, right? For the class method, we have to pass a class as a first parameter. Okay. For class method, we must use a CLS means class word. We can name whatever we want, but generally everyone calls this as a CLS. So to
Okay.
inform with everyone, so if other people are seeing our code means they should understand, right? Okay, this is CLS means class method. We will also follow the same convention. Okay, we must use a CLS variable as a parameter, first parameter. So we can see a class. This is a class method by using a CLS variable also. If we see CLS variable as first parameter, by mistake also we should not forget the first parameter. If we forget, then at the runtime we will get the error. It will be passing the two values, but we are not. It is not accepting two values means it will be error, right? So we must declare a method, the class method using the class as a first parameter always. How to call this class method? Call this class method.
I
How?
think we can call from object dot class.
No, this method can be called even before creation of object, right? So
Okay, yes.
by using class name or after creation of object by using object reference variable also. Understood? After creation of object, if you want to call this method also, we can call for that particular instance only. Okay, not for others.
Okay.
Anything, any modifications, anything we are using means it will be applicable to that particular, like class variable. But even before the instant creation, if you want to access the or call that method means we have to use class name only. Okay, then class name will be passed on as a first argument to this CLS variable.
Understood.
How to do it now we will see. Okay. Suppose I have a test class. Okay, I have declared it as a TEST. Okay, with the capital letter T followed by semicolon. Now I am declaring one class level variable because this is outside of any inside of any method, outside the class only, not inside of any method. So this is
Yes.
class variable by default. Okay, then what I have to do, I have to declare one init method, right, which should accept the parameter will be self. If I have to pass any variables means I will declare the as a second third argument, otherwise I will close it off here. What I am doing here is for every instance on an object I want to count to be added by 1. Understood? Last time we have seen, I think, here. So
Yes.
so test.count. How to access the class level variables? Either I can access using the this class name, or I can access using the self if the object is created. So here, even before creation of object we are typing means we can use the test.count also. Otherwise, if we are assigning that value means it will be particular to that instance, not to the class level count. If I assign this with self.count, what will happen is when that object is created, understood, right? It will be added to that object, not to the count at the class level.
Yes.
So I have to compulsory
Use the class name.
Test.count. Test.count plus 1. So every time this init method is called on at the time of creation of object, I want this to be added by 1. Okay. Now I am deploying the class method. It should be first started with the decorator, right? At class method decorator. This is the identification for the class method. You see here what the first parameter I have passed here? Class.
Yes.
So because this is a class method, I have to pass the first parameter as a class. Here I am passing a self. Here I have to pass a class. This name can be anything, but normal convention is we have to use the CLS word. Okay, that's why we are also using CLS word. Here I want to print number of objects created. So what should be the word? How to refer the count here? So I cannot put count right here. If I put count here, it will be treated as a local variable, not the class level or not the instance variable, right? Please, count will be
CLS.count.
CLS.count we can use, correct?
Yes.
Or class.count, class name dot test.count. Or so because we are calling with the CLS variable, we can use CLS.count, correct? Understood?
Yes.
What I have to do now? I have declared my class.
Create an instance of the class.
So,
Create an object of the class.
I'm passing constructor now. Okay, any parameters are there here? I'll declare.
No.
So automatically this t1 will be passed on this. So I am clicking the blank parenthesis. Okay. I'll put a small t1, t2. I'm creating one more object. Now how to call the class method? Using class name, right? Understood?
We can use okay. We cannot use the object name reference.
We can use but what we are seeing is we don't have any purpose of instance here. Are we passing any instant argument here?
No.
In that method, if we are passing t1 dot, what we will do? T1 dot number of objects. Only for that particular we can see. I will show that line also. I will show that line also. Otherwise, test dot for now. What is the how to call that function? Test dot
Number of objects.
Objects, right? That is the name of the function method. What I have to do now here? Anything I have to do? Any other parameters are there to this method?
No.
It is no, right? After calling this like this test will be passed on to the CLS variable automatically by Python. Understood? Then this
Yes.
test will be passed on this too. So instead of that, I can put directly test also here, but there is no use. We are not using the CLS variable. It will simply be passed. Understood? So generally, we'll use class variables only. Suppose if any other classes are to access this method, in future we will see how one class object will be communicating with other. At that time, we have to mention this class variable only. We should not pass this as a test, because if this is only one class only, we can use the test also, no problem. But for other classes to communicate with this object means, then we have to pass by CLS variable only. Suppose there is one more class. After this, I think we will see that one, how objects will be communicating with each other. See here, we'll see this one, how objects will be passed from one class to another class. At that time, we should not put generally name here. We have to put the CLS variable only, so that anyone can access it. Okay. Now what you are saying here, I can call the
T1 dot
T1.
number of.
We can call like this also. T1 dot, what is the name?
Number of object, OBJ.
Next, one more object we will create. T3. I'm commenting out now. One by one we'll see. Okay. T4. So total how many objects I have created?
4 objects.
Correct. After creating 3 and 4, I am putting one more time. Okay. Now we will see what will happen now. What do you think is happening in this line by calling the self? We have already discussed it, right? We can call class method by using the class name or by using object reference variable if the object is already created, right? So what will happen if I call this one, this particular instance? What is the instance? T1, right?
Yes.
T1 is the object of which class? Test class.
Test.
Right? Test will be passed on to this one. Okay, automatically, not T1. Understood?
Okay.
If I am calling the class method, this is a class method, right?
Yes.
Otherwise I am calling instance method, means what will happen? This T1 will be passed on, correct? Because
Yes.
this is a number of object is a class method. Since we declared it as a class method, Python will convert this instance as a class name. What is the class it belongs to? Test. So that test will be passed on to this class CLS here. Understood?
Yes.
Not the T1. If you pass T1, then it will be an error. So it will, what it will do, it will convert this T1 to test first before calling that. How it is converted? Inside, it will be converted like this. For this word, it will be converted like this. Understood?
Yes.
I will save this one. See, first number of objects created are 2. Second number of objects, because we have added 2 more objects here, that count variable class level variable added by 2 more at the end, so it has created 4. So suppose I don't want to access this. Normally this is not the case, we will not access by reference variable, because we want to generalize. So T1 means other objects we will not be able to because anyway T2 also we can use, correct?
Yes.
T2. So normally we will use only one convention, because it is a class level, we will use the class name directly. Understood? You can use the object reference, that is not a mistake, okay? But using the object reference, if you are trying to suppose T1 dot count, suppose I put 10 like this, I am declaring. What will happen? We are creating one new instance inside the T1 object, not the class here. Count will be always 0 only. Understood? This point we
Yes.
discussed right already.
Yes, because
Trying
we
to access
create
class
own
variable using self will create a new instance of that variable. So we will not normally assign the valuables using the reference variable unless we want that variable inside our object. Okay. So we have now seen using the self how to access, correct? How to access a class method. Now we are using the class name as a argument, as a way to access the class method. See, now I will change it to test dot number of objects. Bottom also I will change it to test dot number of objects. We can access this as a t1 dot number of objects also. We have just now seen previously, right?
Yes.
See, we got the same output even using the test. Only one thing, when we are trying to use the object reference, that reference will be passed on to the, if it is an instance method, that instance will be passed. Suppose this is not an instance method, correct? So inside Python, what it will do, virtual machine, this t1 is the class name. What is the class name of this t1? Test. So that will take the test as an parameter argument and will put inside this CLS variable, even if you are declaring like this using object reference. Otherwise, directly if you are calling that method using the test class name. This test is a class name, right? So then this test will be automatically placed. There is no need to convert. Python don't need to convert anything. Simply it will pass this test as a argument to this CLS variable. Then inside this CLS will be test.count. Understood? Hello?
Yes.
You are,
Yes.
okay. So now we'll close it here. Then we'll see static methods.
Okay.
Understood this example, right?
Yes.
We already seen this before discussing. What we are told, this is for, these methods are for providing utility services to class, correct?
Yes.
Other modules are any library. inside static method, we don't use any instance variables or class variables. For instance method and then with class method, we have used first argument as self or CLS, right? Respectively. So we don't use any of those words. Next thing, we will explicitly declare a method as a static method by using a decorator, which is a static method. So by using this, we will call it as a static method. Understood?
Yes.
How to call this method then? We can also call this method using class name or object reference variable if object is created already. We can use even before the object creation. We can, if you want, if you call this static method, we can call using the class name, or otherwise if object is created, we can call it using the object reference variable.
Understood.
If that particular instance wants to use this utility service, for that particular instance only we can call this static method using the object reference variable. Otherwise, in general, we use the class name to call that method. See example code. Save as I am defining as a static method using the decorator. Please suppose this is one static method, right? Understood?
Okay. So only one static multiplication is not static method, right?
I have to use one more. Actually, this decorator I have to use here two static methods. Okay, Indian is right. This is a simple function only. We are not using any instance level variables here. Any class level variables we are using? No.
No.
C and D are local to this. C and D here are local to this static method. So this is a utility method only. So we want, suppose we want some information from this, we can get it. Okay, this simple example only. Tomorrow I will discuss one full example with all the methods. So you will easily
Okay.
what is the help of the class static method. For understanding purpose, I have put like this here. So tomorrow I will show with a date module why we are using the static method. Here what we are doing is we are not using any class level or instance level variables here, object level variables. Simply we're using local variables. These are local to this particular function method. And then we are declaring by explicitly as a static by using the static method decorator. Correct? So what we have to do now to call those functions, to call those methods? I do use a class because I don't
Class name.
require any instantiation. Right? I don't want
Right.
because this is a static method. I can access without object creation also. I will use a class name, right? Its class name is calculate. Correct? Dot. What is the method name?
Add.
Add. For the static method, do I need to pass any test here? That means any class name. Python is asking for any class name here as a first argument.
No.
No, correct? That's why we are not given any CLS variable here. Static method don't have any. We don't use any CLS or self variables as a first parameter. Okay, we use only local variables. So we have not discussed local variables topic, right? So we can call this as local variables to the method. That's all. Now CALC dot
multiplication
5,2. We have put like this. Can I run this one? Saved it. What is the problem? Clack. Okay.
Is not spelling wrong.
Spelling mistake. Class. CLAC.
No.
Top itself.
Spelling is
CLAC. CLAC. Or CLC, right? Calculation. CLC. Okay. See, we can access the class method. So sorry, static methods using the class name, and we will pass the arguments whatever it is expecting. Here expecting two parameters, right? Here also two parameters. Yes. So this does not relate to any particular object. This does not relate to any particular class. If this class wants to use this add method or this sum method, they can use, okay, by using the test. That means by using the class name as a variable. Otherwise there is no purpose of this static method. Okay. What are the most common methods we are using out of these three?
Instance methods.
Three methods. we generally use methods and
Class method.
no, class methods we don't use that often. Static methods only. Because it is utility service. So we'll use static method often, quite often. We can access directly now. If you want to, suppose we want to declare a variable, class level variable, I can declare directly at the class level, right?
Yes.
There is no need of the class.
Class methods. Okay, got it.
Unless we don't want to hard code. Suppose I am hard coding here, count equal to 0. Otherwise, if I don't want to hard code, what I will do, I will declare one class method. Then I can access the count. I can declare a count here. Okay, class dot count, cls dot count, like this I can put. Okay, whatever the user wants to provide. Here, if you declare it here, it is a hard coded, right? If the user want to specify what is the count, I can put the inside the class method, and then I will call the class method outside the class. Correct?
Yes.
So if I don't want hard coding of the class variable, I can use it. I can declare and assign that value through the class method. That is the only purpose of the class method. So we will use rarely, unless we want to.
Understood.
If we don't want to hard code the value inside a class. So out of these methods, we generally use instance and static methods. Class methods are not used that often. Now we'll see one example on how passing parameter. Now see na pass how to pass another. Without this communication between objects, so we will not be able to use the class concept. What is the use if we are not allowed to communicate with one another, correct?
Yes.
So the sole purpose of this class concept is to reuse what are the classes are there. We can reuse any number of times, and if there is any other different type of class is there, we can pass on the members to that class also to do our communication, to complete our communication. So we will understand this concept using an example. So that is the concept. We can access members of one class inside another class. Let us see how. Save. Suppose I have a employee class. I am declaring an employee class ended with a colon, right? First method is a init method. It is an instance method. Self parameter. I want the employee number, employee name, employee salary, employee number, employee name, employee salary to be passed to this method at the time of declaration or at the time of creation of object. Here I am declaring the instance variables, declaring and assigning the instance variables. So all the three variables I have declared here. This is one more instance method where we are passing self only as the first argument. Other arguments are not there. I want to access this employee number here. How to do it?
Class name.
No. It is a instance variable, right? So I have to
Yes.
use self keyword. This is an instance method also. So instance method. If I have to access that particular instance means I have to use self dot.
Self.
Self dot salary. So that is my first class declaration. Colon print. Okay, second class. This is my test class. Here I don't have any instance variable, so I don't use init method.
Okay.
If we don't use the init method, it will automatically create one and put it here and put it there. Python, so you don't need to worry. I will tell you how I put EMP here. This is also a reference variable, object reference variable. What we are using here, instead of self, normally we'll pass on self, right? Hello?
Yes.
Normally what we will pass as the first parameter to a self.
Yes.
Here instead of self name I am using employee EMP. Okay, why I have used it I will tell you later. Just see,
Okay.
it is also a variable like a self. It is also accepting object reference. This is also accepting object reference. But here this self is accepting the object reference of a same class. Understood? If it is this self means employee only, employee class reference only it will accept, right? Those numbers only it will accept. Here EMP means it is not a, that means we are telling that it is not a object reference of this test. It is a reference of some other class. Here some other class means we have only EMP class. So it is
Got it.
object reference of another class, not this self class. That means test class. Okay. That's why I have not used self word to get the confusion. I can use self word also. It will take the reference, but it will be confusing when we decode the program. So we are using the EMP word here as a self instead of self.
But is this the instance method?
Yes, it is an instance method only.
Okay.
We are not declaring explicitly, na?
Yes.
At class method or all methods are instance. All general methods are instance only, unless we specify it. Instance.
Got it.
No, this is instance method only. That's why it is accepting the instance as a first parameter. If it is a class method, it will accept CLS first method as a first parameter. CLS, right? If it is a, we have to treat it as a class method. We will declare it with the decorator.
Yes. Got it.
Then the first parameter will be CLS. Here I can use self also, but while decoding, it will be a confusion whether this is a variable is belonging to this class object or other class object, because we are dealing with the multiple classes now. So
is it difficult to Python interpreter to decode it, or for my reference doing it?
For us, even this self is also for us only.
Okay.
Whatever the name we can use here. OBJ reference. What we simply, this is a variable only for it. It will simply place that this object whatever we are putting. Suppose here object is S1. Then S1 will put it inside this object reference, not for interpreter or not for Python virtual machine. Okay, virtual machine, whatever the name it is, we have to change it here also. Otherwise, it will be error. Okay, if you are using object reference, I have to use object reference here. Understood? Since we will normally will deal with so many objects, so many classes in real world, what we'll do, we will differentiate with respect to other references by using self. That means this is a reference variable of this object only, of this class only, right? Self means what? Self class. Self means myself, correct? This
yes.
Reference, this S1 is the reference of this employee class only, self class. Here we can use self also, but the problem is it will accept, Python will still run this code, but tomorrow if someone is seeing this code, he should understand what is happening inside, right? So for our understanding purpose only,
Understood.
we have used self keyword here. This is for our understanding. Here employee keyword for our understanding only, not for the virtual machine purpose. Here I used EMP, right? So I have to use EMP only. If I am using self, I have to use self here. Now I am coming out of class. This class I have second class also I have declared. Okay, I will come out of the class. What I have to do first? First I have to create an object, right? Of both classes.
Of both, yes.
So for employee, what I am doing is employee. We have init method, right? Constructor is there. So we can pass on the First parameter is employee number, right? Suppose it is 101. E-name. Suppose salary 1 lakh. Okay. I'm passing these parameters while creation of this object. So it will be updated here, right? As an instance variable. For that particular instance, for this particular instance, suppose it is E1, employee 1. I will get updated as 101 per 1, and here 1 lakh salary will be getting updated to that particular employee 1 object. Okay.
Yes.
I can do like this. I'm calling this modify object inside test class. Can I do like this?
Yes.
I have not created. This is an what method?
Instance method.
But instance method we normally use while we have to
create an object.
Right? Object reference.
Yeah.
We have to create an object. Otherwise, we will not be able to call that method, instance method, right?
Yes.
But here, for calling this instance method inside a test class, I don't have any object reference. Normally, if I have any object reference t1 equal to test, if I put like this, that means I have created an object, right? Then I can access t1 dot modify, right? What will happen if I do like this? You forget about the third line. Here in this statement, I have created object of test, right? Next statement, I'm calling that instance method, right?
Yes. T1 will be passed as in place of E.
Like this, T1 will be passed as a employee reference. T1 employee equal to now T1. Any name we can use normally, but if we are passing this, we are calling self using the self variable to call that self method. We will use self reference variable, right? Normally, but here I don't want to call using object reference of the same class. Correct. That's why I don't want to create an object of this one. Understood?
Yes.
Simply, I can access the reference variables like this also, right? Instance methods we have discussed, I think. Inside instance method we have to use self variable can access. Outside the class we can call an instant method using object reference. Class
name.
But for this class name we should have by passing a self variable, by passing object reference as an argument. That means for the using the class name also we should first create an object. Correct? Understood?
Yes.
If we are creating an object, there is no need of using this class name directly. We can use the object reference. So 199.9% we use the object reference only to call this method. But by passing these type of arguments, we can use the class name. But here instead of passing the self object reference as a per argument, we are passing the this employee class reference. Any reference is it is not a problem for it. Okay, and as long as it is a reference variable. This is an instance method, so we have to pass the reference only always. So it is not expecting only reference of the particular class. It can be any class. So when we do it here, I will tell you one thing. For suppose I have created a test class object. How I can access the modify method t1.modify, correct? So this t1 will be automatically passing to this emp variable, right? Or otherwise I can use test.modify. I have to pass a t1 as a variable compulsorily. Now also this modify method will be called, but which instance it has to be called? T1 instance. So both
Yes.
these methods will be one and same. If I do
Yes.
this also, inside it will be converted to this only. Python will convert it to this only inside. Okay.
Okay.
So both these statements are one and same.
Understood.
T1.5 will be converted to this. I think we have discussed last class also. Anyway, it will be converted to test.modify, and then that object reference will be passed on this employee by automatically. So in the same way we can use here also test.modify. See, test.modify. Instead of passing the same object, we are passing a different object here, the object of employee class. Understood? So we can call this method using the test, that means class name also. Here we're passing the which object? Employee class object. That means here
Yeah.
E1 will be passed. E1 will be details will be 101, Pawan and 10 lakhs, right? 1 lakh, right? So
Yes.
what we are doing by modifying here, we are modifying the salary. So here it will be converted to E1. Here argument passed will be E1. Okay. Then E1 dot salary means here it will be updated. E1 object will be updated here. Understood? Here I am
Understood.
adding plus 10,000. Understood? So inside this is what is happening when we are passing an object of one class to object of another class. Normally in our program it will happen like this only. Objects of one class will be communicating with objects of another class to solve our problem. So
Yes.
what are the modification I have done? It will be general variable emp. Then here e1.display method will be called. E1.display. What is the e1.display? This one is the e1.display. Correct? E1 is object employee class. So it will call the display method by passing the e1 as a first argument. Even as here it will be printed as e1. So here it will be replaced with e1 dot e number, employee number, e1 dot employee name. So it prints the first employee objects details. After we have changed the employee salary as by adding 10,000 rupees to him. So let us see whether it works or not. Okay, we don't require this test object now. Even before creation of test object we can pass by using the class name. The only thing is we have to pass one object reference that we are passing the employee reference object. Indent end of string. Okay. It should be single quote only. If we are starting with single quote, we have to end with single quote. Name is not defined. Oh, this is ename, right? Understood? This
Yes.
parameter is ename. So we have to pass it ename only. Okay? Not name. Name means it is creating one more variable, but value will not be available for us to put it inside this self.ename. So it should be what are the parameter argument name only we have to provide here. What is the other mistake here? Salary also same mistake, huh? E-salary, not salary, right?
Yes.
So now you see, by passing the other object reference, we got the salary updated, right? 1,10,000. Okay. Normally, this employee class will be hidden from outside users. Only we will be able to use this class for the protection purpose. What is the data inside, we will not be able to access. Okay. So normally we will be having only test class only. We will be communicating with the employee. If you want to update any changes in these instances of employee, we'll access that employee instance using the test class. So here we have passed the employee object to the modify method of the test class. Then we have modified the salary, and this is got automatically updated in our employee object, right? We can directly update here inside the employee object also, but normally in real world we will not do like this. All our data is hidden from outside purpose, outside usage. Only whatever we will give the access to that particular object only. So from this we are hiding the data from outsiders. Now we'll discuss later also the access specifiers like private, public, like that. We have some access specifiers are there. So where we can have this instance variables are there now. So we'll protect the instance variables from outside access using those access specifiers. In future class we will see that one. For now, this is the example for the passing of one variable, variable of one class to the another class. You understood this concept?
Yes.
To pass on one variable to another class?
Yes.
Any clarification is required in today's session?
No, not till now.
Till now, you just read one more time. Any doubts are there, you can ask me tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll close it here now. Tomorrow I will discuss about the getter and setter methods are there. And then if polymorphism, then we will discuss about polymorphism, or then inheritance we will discuss. If anyone is possible, we will discuss in one concept, inheritance. Otherwise, we will do the inheritance concept first tomorrow, how to create a subclass of one parent class. Okay, and then we'll see the examples of the inheritance.
Okay.
Okay then. Okay, bye.
Bye.